So welcome to Talking Point with Stephen Taylor. It's good to have you along today, and joined by a man that needs no introduction, Vusi Pikoli, advocate. I should call you advocate, right? How are you, sir? Welcome.
Anyway, Stephen, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure.
Let's learn a bit more from you, like where you grew up. Take us back to the early days of Vusi Pikoli. Where did you grow up?
I'm a typical township boy.
Okay.
I was born in P, in New Brighton.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Okay.
Yeah, that's where I was born and grew up until my first years in high school. I finished my high school at St. John's College in Mthatha. And then from there, I went to Fort Hare Law University.
Oh yes.
In Alice in 1976.
Oh, yes.
That's when I started my law studies.
That's the same. Is that the same university that, not Mugabe?
Yes, Mugabe was there. I mean, lots of famous people
around your time.
Went not during my time. Obviously, Mugabe was much older.
Oh yes, sorry.
There's no way.
There's
no way you could have been there at the same time. Yes, but Fort Hare produced people like Nelson Mandela, Oliver Tambo, Thabo Mbeki.
Yeah.
Robert Mugabe.
I don't know if we want to put that name in the same list.
Well, history will tell you that.
Yeah. No. For how many things?
As whether some of them have been absorbed by history or not is something else.
Yeah.
But to be fair enough, Mugabe did play a positive role in Zimbabwe.
No, he did. Up until a point.
Yeah, up until a point. Yeah. It is what happens.
Yeah.
All the time.
So, what did apartheid affect you? Did you grow up during apartheid years?
Well, by virtue of being black, living, under apartheid, you were affected. There was poverty all around me, unemployment, suppression of political rights. I was obviously affected, and also my mother's brother at the time was also in Robben Island.
Oh wow!
He was arrested in 1963 and was sentenced to 20 years for PAC activities. So as I was growing up, I knew about politics. Yeah. So by the time I was at Fort Hare, I was already involved in politics even prior to June 76.
So Fort Hare, you were, as a black person, you were allowed to go to Fort Hare?
Fort Hare basically was established for black people.
Oh really?
It's the oldest, African university in Africa.
Which is still going.
But that's why you had some leaders from other African states who went through the University of Fort Hare.
Okay.
It was established in 1916. It has just celebrated more than 100 years of its existence.
Oh, that's right. I think Mugabe was there 2 years ago. Yeah.
He was there.
Yeah.
He was there.
Sure. Were you there?
I was there, of course.
Okay.
As an alumnus of the university,
Did you get to see him?
We were invited.
Did you get to see Mugabe?
Well, not greet him personally, but it was a stage, delivering his address. And apparently, not apparently, he does have, some affection for the university. He loves Fort Hare.
Yeah, he does.
And a number of students from Zimbabwe actually at Fort Hare, and Fort Hare to a large extent is dependent on the scholarships that the government of Zimbabwe, the money that they are pouring into the university. Yes.
Okay.
They got a number of Zimbabwean students at the University of Fort Hare.
Sure. And your time going to university, of course you had to pay for your own fees, right?
Yes, my parents had to pay for my high school my education, and then also had to pay and borrow, to put me through university in 1976.
And you had to pay it back?
Well, I didn't have a chance to pay back because I had to leave for exile. In 1980.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Where did you go?
Well, I went to Lesotho, where I finished with my studies in law.
Okay.
And then also was in Zimbabwe.
So you were chased out of South Africa?
Yes, so to say, because I was involved, in politics as a student leader at the University of Fort Hare with the big strike in 1980.
Sure.
I was detained as well in 1980 under the General Law Amendment Act.
That's hectic.
Section 22 of that act. And then I started being involved in the struggle for national liberation. At that time, we established a cell an underground cell in 1980 before leaving the country.
Which was part of the ANC?
We made contact with the ANC in Lesotho. Actually, you know, some members of the unit went to Lesotho, then was still young and militant. He wanted arms.
Yeah.
And then the likes of Comrade Hani said, no, guys, take it easy. You know.
Oh, you met him?
Yes. Then after I would left the country.
How was he?
So, well, I mean, he was Comrade Chris. I mean, was this commander, you know, who was accessible, approachable, and knew every, you know, kid of the ANC that went through, you know, him.
What was he? He was SG, no?
No, he never became SG of the ANC. What he was involved with the military side of and he was the chief of staff.
Oh yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And then
also was the Secretary General of the Communist Party of South Africa.
Oh, that's
when he was killed.
Oh, that's right.
When he was assassinated in 1993, he was the General Secretary.
Yes.
Of the Communist Party.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Were you around that time? Were you still friends with him at that time when he was assassinated?
Yes.
And did it affect you?
No member of the ANC who has met Chris and has worked with with Comrade Chris will not be affected. And I mean he had this amazing memory of remembering people. You know,
that's what you need from a leader, right?
Yeah, I mean, you want to know your well-being, you know, and everything about you and your family and all that.
Do you miss him?
He was a good leader, of course.
And what would you say to people now that haven't met him? Would you say that we lost a good leader?
We did lose a good leader. There's no doubt about it. You know, he was militant and also was highly
humble,
intellectual.
Yeah.
And humble.
Yeah.
A good political analyst and a military strategist. You know, he was a brave soldier. He would not send us on mission inside the country without him knowing how it is to operate in underground conditions in South Africa.
Sure.
So he himself had his own missions in and out of South Africa. You know, he was in the first detachment sent by the ANC inside the country in 1967-68. You know, the famous Wanki and Spodilo campaigns.
Yes. When,
you know, ANC cadres, members of Umkhonto Wesizwe linked up with the Zebra forces of Zimbabwe under Joshua Ngomo. And they were trying to come back to the country in 1967-68.
Sure.
So he fought. You know, literally they were engagements, you know, with the South African, you know.
The South African Communist Party, that's SACP, right?
Defense Force, yes.
SACP is the SA.
Yeah.
Okay.
SACP.
Which part of the Tripartite Alliance?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, in 1993, we said goodbye to Comrade Chris Hani. A year later, we said hello to Nelson Mandela as the president of the country.
Yeah.
How was that feeling?
And then also 94, actually, another good leader who died soon after Chris, but of age and also ill health, was the former president of the ANC, Oliver Reginald Tambo.
Oh, that's right. He passed away before
just before the elections.
That was sad.
It was in April.
He didn't get to see the whole.
Yes.
You
see.
Yeah, that's true.
But by then he had handed over to Nelson, you know, as a new president of the country.
I know his son Dali Tambo.
Yes,
good guy.
Dali Tambo. Yes.
Yeah. So 1994 came. Nelson Mandela became president. Were you around then?
Oh, of course. I mean, I was in Joburg.
Were you happy?
I was in Joburg at the time.
Yeah.
I cast my first vote in Joburg at the school.
And how was that feeling? How did you feel at that time?
Joburg East. Of course, I mean, this is what, you know, we had sacrificed for.
Yeah.
Having left home in 1980, you know, leaving your parents, leaving your siblings, leaving your friends, you know, going to a place that you don't know, you've never been there, you know, receiving military training, you know, being prepared to come back and fight in the country, knowing that you might lose your life in the process or get imprisoned.
Sure.
So now when that moment comes, when you feel that you have achieved your goals, you have attained, you know, your goals in terms of the national liberation, of course you are excited, you know, it's a moment of celebrations. But then also think back on those who didn't make it.
That's right.
Those who fell in the course of the struggle.
Yeah.
You know.
And there was a lot.
I had personal friend of mine was very close to me. We left the country together in 1980. He was abducted in Lesotho, brought in back to South Africa. He was tortured. He was killed. He was poisoned. He was shot in the head.
That's terrible.
And he was driven from Jeffreys Bay in the Eastern Cape, next to PE, driven all the way up to near the Nkomati River.
Oh, that's quite far.
Yes, but I could say he was a personal friend of mine, Sizwe Kondile. You know.
They caught the people that did it.
Well, Sizwe Kondile was my friend. He was abducted and brutally killed. You know, they shot him in the head and burned him. They put him on a pile of food.
Why?
And burned his body as they were having braai and drinking beer. You know, it was terrible. So his ashes were thrown into the river. But at least 2 years ago, sometime in 2016, around July, we were able to go to the spot where he was killed through the help of the NBA task team that's trying to trace people who disappeared.
Yeah.
So there was, you know, his spirit at least was repatriated. You know, there was a ceremony there, traditional ceremony, religious ceremony, to repatriate his spirit back to the Eastern Cape, and he was buried, given a decent funeral burial.
But did they catch the people that did it?
Well, Jakutsie is one of the people.
Okay.
They went to the TRC when the TRC was still going
and they got
on.
amnesty.
They got amnesty. That's the problem, and they lied.
Really?
And actually, I was able to trace one of the guys who was involved there.
Sure.
You know, Colonel Henry Duplessis.
So you didn't agree with the TRC then?
Look, the TRC did a lot of good work, but I think some people got amnesty who did not disclose everything, like what happened.
So they got a free pass.
I believe that they lied through their teeth.
Sure.
Colonel Henry Duplessis, whom I met when I was writing my book, you know, is in Pretoria. I went to him. I said, "Look, I'm writing a book.
Yeah.
I'm telling my story, and he's one of my tormentors." Then he was still a captain in PE, but coming from Vietnam. He's the one who detained me and he gave us a rough time.
Sure.
He's now a little bit old. So I was saying to him, look, the war is over.
Yeah.
You know, as people who participated in the same war, can you sit down and make peace? But on condition that we are truthful. Which was a condition for amnesty, a full disclosure.
So was it hard to forgive him? Was it hard to get over that? Are you over it?
Look, at some stage we've got to move on.
Yeah.
If you want to build a new country, if you want to build a new society, you say the war is now over.
Which is sometimes easier said than done, right?
It's easier said than done, but we must be big enough to say, let us rebuild South Africa make it a country for everybody who's in South Africa, black and white. Let's have reconciliation, but you can't have full reconciliation on the basis of half-truths.
That's right.
That's the problem.
That's right.
Because also at times you don't know exactly what is it that you are forgiving. So you need to have full information about what we are forgiving a person for. So if it's half truth, then it means that person is not ready for reconciliation because it's still holding back. You see.
But as somebody that was involved with the MPA, do you think our laws in this country side more with the criminals than actually the victims? Because I think criminals have more human rights than the actual victims, which is, I think it needs to be that. You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
For the first time in this country, we have got a constitution that has got in Chapter 2 the Bill of Rights, the individual human rights, rights that are inalienable. Rights that restore the dignity of all South Africans, whether a criminal or a victim of crime. And then also, we've got two rights in that constitution that are unlimited. It's the right to life and the right to human dignity.
Even if
all other rights in the Bill of Rights can be limited. depending on each situation.
So even if you're a criminal, that applies?
It applies equally. It applies equally. Because look, we want to create a society that respects its citizens. Those who deviate from the law, those who break the law, of course, must face the full consequences. You need to have effective policing. You need to have effective prosecutors. You need to have people in the criminal justice system who are men and women of integrity, of high integrity, so that they are able to command the public trust and public confidence. And trust is the end.
Okay, so enough about the MPA. We've gotten to know you a bit better, which is great. Talk us about your new role as the Western Cape Police Ombud. Is that right? Is that the title?
No, that's correct.
Talk us about that which kicked off 2014, 2015.
Yes, I was actually appointed December 2014, which was right at the end of the 14-15 financial year. So I've been in office now for just over 3 years. I was appointed for a period of 5 years, non-renewable 5 years.
Oh, really?
Yes. I'm appointed in terms of the Western Cape Community Safety Act, which derives its own authority from our Constitution, Section 206(3) of the Constitution, that deals with responsibilities of provinces when it comes to policing. Meaning that provincial executives, have been given the power to monitor police conduct, to oversee the efficiencies within the police, and to make sure and to promote good relations between the police
and the community
and the communities. And when there's a breakdown, they must try and do something about it. And then also, the Act speaks of the power to appoint, commissions of inquiry. One example would be the Khayelitsha Commission.
Is that still ongoing? Or
No.
It's finished.
It finished its work. I was one of the commissioners. It was chaired by Judge Kate O'Regan.
Yes.
Yeah. We finished. We handed over our recommendations, and the department and the police are working out now the implementation of those recommendations.
So they're still deciding?
No. The police have accepted some recommendations, which are in the process of being implemented. So it's a joint task between the police and the Department of Community Safety. Yeah.
And your mandate is?
So then my mandate then is to receive and investigate complaints against police inefficiency.
Any complaint?
And also that relates to police inefficiency, not any complaint. It was also
the police, obviously.
There's iPad as well. And some people at times tend to confuse the two roles, and so yet they are quite.
iPad is for criminal. You are for.
iPad is to investigate criminal conduct on the part of the police, rape, torture, deaths. Corruption, matters that might end up in court.
So you don't deal with corruption?
No, I don't deal with corruption.
Community complaints.
iPad. For me, it's more the soft issues. It's more about service delivery. It's more about good and proper investigations by the police. One can complain about poor investigations, and we have received quite a number of complaints that relate to poor investigations, complaints that relate to poor response time from the police. You call out the police at 10 and they come at 4, or they don't come at all.
I don't understand that.
So citizens have got the right to complain because that's bad service. You see. So
and 10111 is you must get lots of complaints about that. There's bad communication, and poor communication between the complainant, one who has gone to open a docket at the police station, and the feedback, not getting sufficient feedback. So we deal with those cases. So the challenge is also to make sure then that we don't have the same types of complaints. That we also look at the systemic weaknesses within the police system itself. So now you can drop reports over the last 3 years and say this has happened.
Annually, we submit our report to the provincial legislature.
Okay.
And the beauty of it all is that my office is independent, though it's established in the Department of Community Safety. But what we do independently.
So you report to them, but you don't answer to them?
We submit our annual report.
Yeah, but you don't answer to them?
To the provincial minister, who then tables it before the provincial legislature.
Okay.
And then we account to the provincial legislature. We get called every year to account for the work that we've done, our performance or lack of it. We account to the provincial legislature for the work that we do.
And tell me about the 10111 call center, because I see that there's many complaints about that, and I'm sure that your office gets a lot of complaints. What is happening with that? Because sometimes you'll phone and then you'll get no response.
Yeah.
And that is happening more and more and more. What can we do to make that better?
Yeah, you see, that number was supposed to really be of assistance to people, but as you say, some people are complaining that they never pick up, and then also they say they try to trace, and people also at times who complain are not able to actually also trace, say when.
That's right.
So there are all those things. Again, those are systemic issues, because we can't continue having the same problem over a long period of time.
No.
By now everybody knows that there is a problem.
There's a problem.
But then also the often reason given would be, lack of resources. Look, to a certain degree, it could be a co-repeating factor, but it can't be the factor.
No.
Because at times, even when resources are there, the attitude, to have the right attitude, you don't need resources. But also at times, we have got a situation where, one detective sits with about 200 dockets.
Yeah.
A backlog.
Yeah.
And then you see that workload, even if we are very, competent,
efficient. Yeah, it's going to take a
it's
long
going
time.
to take its toll on you, because it's not right to have that. But again, it's attributed to the high levels of crime. So if, for instance, we were to have effective, visible policing, which will serve as a deterrent of crime, and then we have got, effective detection work. We have highly trained and experienced detectives, your investigators, you see. But at times we've got even problems when IOs, that is the investigating officers, don't even pick up post-mortem results from the lab, which will delay cases being taken to court, which will create a backlog in our courts. And then it creates a problem for correctional services.
It does.
Because now you have, long list of awaiting trial prisoners who are in custody.
Yeah. And
apart from your sentenced prisoners.
Yeah.
Just in the Western Cape, we have got, correctional services centers that are more than 200% overcrowded. Now, under those conditions, you are not going to have effective rehabilitation. So one thing leads to another. So we need then to have a criminal justice system that appreciates the role of each member in the chain of the criminal justice system. Because would be, the system would be weak at its weakest link.
Can I make a suggestion with regard to the 10111 call center?
Yes,
I think
please.
the problem is
I appreciate
that there's civilians, normal public, that are working at that call centers, which poses a problem. I think we need to put police back there, because those police take an oath and have to answer to the police. So if you have students or constables manning those telephones, I think we'd have a better response, because those are actual police members who've been through the training, who know what's going on, who are policemen and women, and who can deal with those situations. I think we need to go back to that.
I get a point, but also that's not the essential core business. Of police officers. Because you want, officers to be out there to fight crime, to prevent crime. And also, if for instance were to look closely at the question of police reservists, you and I can volunteer to be a reservist.
No, for sure. Maybe we're too old now, but
See? Of course. But they've just recently raised the age up to 50 at least.
Okay, so we can.
So if you're still below 50, you can volunteer. So now it's between 20 and 50.
Okay.
In the past, actually, it was 25 and 40.
Yeah.
So now, with the hope of attracting more people to be police reservists, because, you know, to be honest and fair, police on their own will never deal effectively and efficiently with problems of crime.
No.
We need a partnership with the communities.
We do.
So also we need members of the community who will volunteer, you know, to do work. Because to be honest, you've got your skill, and Deirdre has got his own skill, which can be put in one pot, and you stir the pot and come up with a beautiful stew.
That's it.
You know?
You're making me hungry now, man.
My apologies.
No, that's cool. Listen, Vusi, we're running out of time, buddy.
It's a question really of effective partnerships. Police on their own won't do it, but also we need honest cops.
We do.
The problem also is with cops who are corrupt.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
We're out of time, my friend. Advocate Vusi Pikoli,
it's a pleasure.
You. So it's always good.
Thank you.
And
Thank you,
we'll get you back on the show again. Thank you so much.
Lovely.
See, we can talk for hours, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks.
Another episode of Talking Point with Stephen Taylor. Make sure that you are interacting at Stephen Taylor SA on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Catch you back next week, same time, same place. God bless.